All right. Thank you, everybody, for your participation in today's group virtual validation call. I'm really excited to welcome Chris and Sharisa Hoke, some of our newest franchisees out of the Fort Worth West area of the great state of Texas. Um, this is a little bit unique. I'm really excited to do this. Chris and Sharisa executed their franchise agreement with SpeedPro in late June of 2024, and we're going to make this a four-part series. And they haven't opened yet; they haven't started bringing in the equipment yet. But I want to hear their journey prior to SpeedPro, and then I want to learn what's going on, what activities they're doing, and then ultimately, um, you know, when they open, we're going to do something very similar. Then after a year, we're going to do something similar, and then a year later, we're going to do something similar. So I'm really excited. I want to introduce Chris and Sharisa. Chris and Sharisa, you guys don't mind, maybe just introduce yourselves, and then I'll jump right into the questions. And before you do that, just some housekeeping. If if you have any questions, please feel free to chat. And I'm going to send everybody a quick, actually, Kate, can you send everybody a quick message? If you have a question, send it to Kate, and then Kate will send it to me. Okay, unless Kate, you can make me the host. So without further ado, Chris and Sharisa, please introduce yourselves.
Well, as you said, I'm Chris Hoke. I've been a Texan my entire life. I live in Alito, which is just west of Fort Worth in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
I'm Sharisa Hoke. We've been married for 23 years.
Ish, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
We have a daughter. She's 19. And I've been in Texas my whole life too. So we love it here.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. I'm going to jump right into this if you guys are okay. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free chatting. I'd like to get all those questions asked by the end. So let's talk about real quick. Do either of you have any previous experience in printing, marketing, any related industries, or would this be a completely new venture for you both?
I would say for the most part new. We did have a little over 20 years ago, right after we first got married, we had a mobile DJ business. And so that, we started from scratch. And so, I did the branding and marketing and all of that kind of, trade shows and stuff for that business. But that was a much smaller scale, and marketing was a lot different 20 years ago. So
right.
Here we are.
Yeah, 20 years ago, you had to wait for the yellow or the white pages to, if you bought a business or started a business in February, right, you had to wait until January the next year for it to be updated. Well, Sharisa, I want to start with you. Why don't you share with us a little bit about your background prior to SpeedPro?
I worked for Colonial Savings in their corporate accounting department for 23 years almost. So never have really dabbled in business except to help him out a little bit, the DJ thing. But so I was in corporate accounting for that long, worked in an office, and about 9 years ago, I quit and stayed home with our daughter. So I've been out of the workforce for almost 9 years.
Got it. And Chris, tell us about your background.
I've been in IT my entire career, and so I worked for the same company, moving up through the ranks for about the last 23 years or so. And in April, I got laid off, and so I dabbled in the job market, which is a little bit of a challenge these days, and I kind of took a look at the options and thought, between savings and severance, this might be an opportunity for us to do something else. So that kind of started us on this journey.
Thank you. And talk to us a little bit about, why you chose SpeedPro. What other franchise opportunities? Well, you know what? Let's, before you answer why you chose SpeedPro, talk to us a little bit about what other concepts you were looking at or what other industries you were looking at?
Well, I kind of started with a pretty open mind. I one of my hobbies is classic cars, and so I thought, well, hey, could I do a classic car dealership? That's very capital intensive, and so I started looking around. Well, what other kind of businesses could I do? And I worried that starting something fresh would take a long time, and uh, I looked at purchasing. I just got on Biz Buy Sell and started looking at businesses that were for sale, and stumbled across some different printing businesses that were for sale, and that kind of led me down the franchising path. And so what franchises are available, and I looked at a whole bunch of different options, and it kind of boiled down to yeah, I could do that. There's a lot of service-based businesses that are out there. I'm going to pick on installing garage doors. Yeah, I could do that, and I can make money at that, but that's probably not what I want to spend my time doing every day. So I kind of narrowed it down to this world pretty quickly.
Yeah, so the large and wide format graphic industry, which again, most people come into this, they don't have a lot of experience in it. I think what appeals to people, right, is it's B2B, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. As a close couple like you are, and then potentially your daughter being involved, it can be a family-run business where you can really build the business around, your lifestyles. Let's talk about the decision-making process. So, I think I just kind of mentioned it, but what aspects of SpeedPro's industry or business model intrigued you the most?
Well, sure. Like I kind of mentioned before, I was looking for something that, I could get excited about. There's a lot of things I could do that, and, it's just another job. But, when I'm looking at, the SpeedPro, well, the large format printing, broadly, I see, the vehicle wraps, and, having an IT background, I enjoy the technical aspect of all the different printers and things like that. And I look at the vehicle wraps and the wall graphics and think at the end of the day, that's something that I could be point at and say I'm proud of that. I was a part in creating that, and I'm proud of that. And so as far as SpeedPro, I looked at some other similar franchises and did some discovery days with them, and just found that I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but the network of owners that we spoke to, and the available territories, and the way SpeedPro doesn't have a bunch of territories stacked all on top of each other at the moment, and they just checked all the boxes. SpeedPro checked all the boxes for the things we were looking for in terms of getting started.
I like that answer. Yeah,
that subject.
I like that answer. Now, talk to us a little bit about your territory. So, where you guys live, and why you chose the Fort Worth West territory. Because look, there's a lot of people on this call, and some people have territories that are nearby other territories like you guys, right? I think having more in an area is good. And so talk to us about your confidence in that territory, Fort Worth West.
Yeah, so and that kind of ties in with what I was saying before. We live west of Fort Worth, which I don't want to call it rural, but we're in a suburb on the outskirts of town. And we've got we're in a smaller town, I guess you would call it. And there's a lot of business here, and we like our home, wanted to stay where we were, wanted to be local. And so SpeedPro was one of the few franchises that had a territory available here. We also looked at where my father lives, which is down just north of Houston, and looked at some other franchises that had territories available there. But those available territories were mostly cows, and so I didn't, even though I'd love to live out there, I didn't think that was really a viable territory for what we were trying to do. So it worked out that SpeedPro had this territory available, and so where we live is on the western edge, mostly the western edge of where our territory is, and our territory extends all the way almost to the center of Fort Worth. And so it was very attractive that we weren't, going to be limited to our local town, which would have been great, by itself. But we have a good chunk of very busy Fort Worth to pick from there. So I think it was a fantastic territory that worked out for us.
And almost every area is growing. I mean,
Yeah,
Texas is
we're
booming
growing
right
rapidly.
now. So
Yeah.
we felt confident, even going out of Fort Worth, it was populous enough event, coming up soon.
Sharisa, I have a feeling like in 10 years, what Chris said, I don't want to say rural. I think you guys are going to say it's not rural at all. You know what I mean? In 10 years. So everything in Dallas Fort Worth is just growing outward.
Yes.
And what I want to point out too is, this is very similar to our franchisee in Oklahoma City. He opened up a studio in Stillwater, which is about 30 minutes from really the Oklahoma City area. And we're open to that. If you can find something that's relatively inexpensive and you're just kind of on the outskirts of your territory, we'll just add that territory. So it's all, a continuous territory. And so keep that in mind if you're on this call now or in the future. We are open to, being flexible and to customize your territories. All right. I'm going to talk through your process up until agreement execution. And then I want you guys to just talk through the milestones after that. So I remember my first conversation with Chris. And then after the first conversation, we reviewed the FDD. After the FDD, you started talking to franchisees. And then I had the opportunity to meet you both and your daughter in Dallas. Well, actually, it was in Addison. No, we were Arlington.
Irving.
Okay. So we met there. We toured that facility. Spent time with the owner, and then you guys sat in on the virtual meet the team, or what we called the virtual discovery day back then. And maybe about a month after that, you executed your franchise agreement. Talk to us about, after you executed your franchise agreement, the things that you did after that.
Well, the first thing we did was hit the real estate market hot and heavy, looking for a studio, and that was a bit of more of a challenge than I expected. But I don't know where you want me to stop along the way, but from there we met with the corporate team virtually and scheduled our business training. We went to business training in September, and then in October we went to the convention. And I don't know if we want to talk about the convention. That was fantastic. We learned a lot during the convention. And just all along the way, we've been doing the online training that's available, and we've been doing a lot of networking. We've joined a couple of local chamber of commerce groups, which has been fantastic there, and we've made a lot of relationships. And we went through a couple of real estate agents and finally found a great one, and finally found a space. And so was it October, maybe, we signed a lease on our space, and it had an existing tenant there. And I could talk a lot about the whole real estate experience as well, but that tenant moved out December 1st. Okay. And so right now the landlord is working with the city to get permits so that they can do some of our build out. And so right now, tentatively, we will be able to take possession February 1st-ish. So
okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So where's this location located?
This is now, I don't know how familiar everyone is with Fort Worth, but this is very near downtown. This is kind of on the far east side. I said we live on the west side of our territory. This is on the far east side of our territory. And it's right in the heart of our cultural district, very close to the Fort Worth Zoo and just a mile or so from downtown. When we first started, we really thought we would be closer to home, sort of outside of town, sort of in a tilt wall uh, area. And the market here was just really tight, and we just couldn't find that Goldilocks space. And then we stumbled across this space, which turned
Is
out
this a
to be
standalone? Is
fantastic.
this a standalone?
No, it's actually attached to. If you're looking head on, yeah, right there. If you look to the left of that, that is all offices, including the landlord's office,
Oh,
right
wow.
there to the left. But when you're looking at it head on, that entire rectangle all the way back is our space.
Got it. And how big of a location is this?
This is 4,500 square feet.
Wow. Okay. And just so if folks are new to this or you're going to be watching this in the future, what we typically look for is around 3,000 square feet, tall ceilings. There are two-phase, three-phase electrical hookup. How tall is this?
I believe those doors are 14 feet tall, and so there's another 6 feet. I think it's 20. I think it's 20 feet inside, 20 foot tall inside. Yeah. Are they maybe six? I forget. They're 14 or more feet tall. Did I lose you? Are we frozen?
Bay garage door that you have?
Steve, you were frozen for just a second. Could you repeat the last like two sentences?
Hey, Hey, sorry about that. Keep going, Chris. I think I got disconnected there for a second.
Oh yeah, you're back. I was just saying, yeah, it's I believe that the garage door is 14 or 16 feet tall. I forget, and then it's obviously a little bit taller than that inside. So it's a pretty tall space.
So would you say you've got about 3,000 square feet in production area?
I would say probably more than that because
Oh, wow.
the building currently and the furniture you see is for the current tenants. It was a roofing / engineering company, and their primary location is in East Texas, and so they used the warehouse side as storage and the other side as offices, and there's quite a few more offices than we needed. And so right there you can kind of see that's the warehouse area, and to the left is where the office space is. And so we're actually having them tear out some of the offices in the back. Those offices right there will be torn out, and then building a double door between the warehouse and the office side. So initially, the equipment that we're going to get with our starting package will actually fit inside the office side of that building. But we are having HVAC put in the warehouse as well, and so as we expand and get flatbed printers and cutters and all that, that would expand over to the other side. So that's a long-winded way to say that I would bet at least 3,500 or 3,500 square feet or more can be used for production.
I think that's great. I mean, the reality is you'll probably never have to, move your location. You're big enough, to
Right.
bring in the UV printer, bring in the big flatbed cutter. Well, I know, you guys are being patient. I know you don't want to be, but it looks like a great location. Well, let's move on just a little bit. So as co-owners of the business, what do you see your roles to be? And maybe Sharisa, I'll start off with you.
Well, there's an expectation that we'll all know everything, so we can back each other up on, the different phases. But I I was in accounting. I'm not an accountant, but so I'll probably be in the office, you know, doing accounting and payroll and administrative and keeping the calendar and all that stuff. Sorry.
It's okay.
And I see Chris more out selling and doing while I'm taking phone calls in. But we want to know, you know, all the aspects so that we can cover for each other and learn about it, you know what we're talking about. So,
You know, I want to take a step back. Talk to us about the training that you had in Denver. You know, that was 4.5 days. I believe both of you went. You know, it's very, you know, for the folks that are on this call, if you're buying an existing studio or a brand new studio, everybody has to sit in on the business training, which is 4.5 days. Maybe just kind of walk us through that and what it prepares you for.
Yeah, they touch on a lot of different subjects. One of the primary things that everyone, there's a big push to learn the point of sale system, core bridge. You know, that's where everything is done. That's where you do all your estimates and your, you know, sales and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. And so, so there's a bit of time, you know, talking and learning about that. There's maybe a whole day on marketing and all of the different options that a lot of owners take advantage of. There was
it was accounting in the morning
accounting.
and marketing in the afternoon.
Yeah, and then there's quite a bit of time spent on sales and sales techniques and networking and things like that. So
Got it. And
sales, yeah, 2 days of sales, and that was very, very informative, and I'm just really glad we got that training too.
You get to role play and practice, and you know, there were other new franchisees there as well, and so we get to practice with each other and you know, get to watch everybody else you know, practice and role play as well. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, the role playing, it allows you to make mistakes before, you know, and quite frankly, no one knows if you're making a mistake anyways out in the field. So well, thank you. All right, so talk to us a little bit about you know, what excites you about opening up in early 2025? Because it looks like you're going to take over in February. It sounds like you'll probably open up maybe late March, early April. So talk to us about that, or maybe you plan on opening up sooner, but what excites you about opening up this business and really getting after it?
Well, you know, that's a tough question. Everything. We hope, you know, we have been hopefully all of our construction will be done by February 1st. And so all we'll have to do is move in. And of course, there's a little bit of a lead time as far as getting delivery on all the equipment and stuff like that. And so we've been working with the home office and to kind of get the vendors ready for that. So we're hoping that can be, you know, early March that we'll be able to actually be doing business there. But having said that, I think, you know, as far as if I had to pinpoint what to be excited about it, and it's I think that's the point where it really becomes tangible, you know, even though, you know, we're networking and, you know, somewhat selling now and you know, have the ability to do a lot of stuff already, having a tangible place to go every day and say, you know, this is, you know, make something and put my hands on it. And, you know, I think it'll become real at that point, you know.
So, okay, let's talk real quick about, you secured a location. What activities are you doing while you're in this like waiting, you know, process?
Well, like I mentioned, we're doing, you know, doing mostly networking type things. We've go to ribbon cuttings and B2B leads groups and things like that. We've had a couple of built some relationships and done a couple of estimates and things like that for different customers. And one thing we've been interacting with the other owners and franchisees. We've been talking on the phone, reaching out to some of them, and going and visiting some other studios to kind of learn their process and day-to-day work. And we've I think the convention was really great because we got to meet and be introduced to a lot of the different vendors that we're going to be working with. And so we've been setting up accounts. We actually did a tour of GSG, one of the vendors that we'll be working with. And so
That's
that
great.
was very helpful and informative. So, and then we've just been meeting with Zach, our sales
Business consultant, right?
consultant, and just been touching base with you guys throughout the time. So we've been staying busy. We're anxious to get in there, but yeah, we've
Sure.
been trying to stay as busy as we can.
Got it. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, let's talk about your short-term and maybe long-term goals. And and because look, at the end of the day, we talked about this during the virtual discovery day, and have those changed? But what are your short and long-term goals?
Well, I mean, it may sound kind of simplistic to answer here. I mean, I think the first short-term goal for me is to get our feet wet and get our feet under us and start making stuff. It's one thing to say we these are all the things we can do, but after we've actually produced something and gone through the process a couple of times, I feel I think that'll build a little bit of our confidence. But I think maybe in terms of sales, because we live in the smaller community and we've built a lot of relationships around here, I think the short-term goal is for us to connect the dots and make some of the sales and get established on the west side of our territory here out in the smaller town. And then longer term, I think we will work our way eastwards towards downtown and hopefully break into the arts district, the zoo, downtown corporate life and things like that once we've established our footprint. And I guess parallel with that, we hope to I don't want to say long term, maybe medium term, at least start breaking even and making a profit there. And so I think that'll kind of turn the corner to grow as much as we possibly can.
I want to just maybe highlight and circle back to, you've got a network of franchisees in Dallas, Fort Worth. I mean, we've got about maybe 10, 11, 12 franchisees throughout Texas. You mentioned, you had a lot of good contacts or connections made at the convention. How has been that support from the existing franchisees so far?
That has been fantastic. I mean, literally, there's a distribution list, an email distribution list that you immediately become part of, where it's called Ask the Owners, where all of the owners ask each other questions, and it's just watching how helpful everybody is to each other is really dramatic. But in the few, we've had we had an opportunity. Somebody asked us for an estimate on doing a vehicle wrap, and it's a complicated thing if you've never done it before. And so I picked up the phone and called the guys in Charlotte, that we met at the convention, or Chattanooga. I'm sorry, Chattanooga, and they just immediately jumped and helped us. And we've talked to, we went and visited a studio in Magnolia, and I don't know we want to talk about everybody's name, but down where my dad lives. And so they were super helpful and walked us through everything they do day to day. And so everybody has been so helpful and so welcoming, I guess is the word, to us, that I can't say enough about all of the other owners.
Yeah, the DeNobles are great. They're great people at Magnolia. Yeah. And I've visited their studio a few times, and they've got a good business. It's a family-run business, maybe similar to what you guys are going to be doing, with their son and their son's best friend doing all their production. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, you've talked about getting involved in networking. What's your plan to really integrate into the community of Fort Worth West? I know that's the one thing. Like, when I look at a lot of successful franchisees, they're active in their community. You guys are already doing networking events. That's going to pay off. It will. I mean, that to me, that's just one of the most important things to do. Even before you open, is starting to do research on what networking groups you can attend or you can join. But talk to us a little bit about how you want to integrate into the community.
Well, I think we want to continue that. I think once we get open, right now we're both going to those. I think I would probably go to less, and Sharisa would go to more, and maybe become even a little more involved in that. We have talked about, we've met through the chamber some organizations that we would like to participate in a little bit more. Some veterans organization. There's a VFW that we have supported and really like, and so they have a lot of events that we feel like we can contribute our services to kind of get more involved in that community. I think also where this kind of goes back to one of those, I think everything happens for a reason. Where we were initially looking to locate our studio was kind of in a warehouse district, and it would be very easy to get complacent there. But where we wound up finding this place, I think, is ideal because it's right in the heart of a lot of, like I said, the cultural district, and a lot of activity there. So I think that's going to force us out of the studio to, I don't want to say force us, maybe pressure us out of the studio, and to kind of connect with the high density business population right there around our studio. So I think there's a ton of opportunity for us to kind of get involved with that community as well.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we were sitting down for lunch, and remember, like, if you can just dominate that 1 mile, around you, and you guys put your location probably in a really good spot for that, and if you can dominate within 1 mile around your business, then you're going to be competing, all throughout 3 to 5 miles, and it's just going to expand. So kudos. Sounds like a great location. I was looking forward to hearing your answer to this question, because I think it probably changed, so what value do you think SpeedPro that you're gonna bring in to Fort Worth West brings to businesses in your territory compared to other marketing or maybe sign and graphic solutions?
Well, I think, oddly enough, I think that varies across our territory. And like I said, I love the fact that we have such a diverse territory, because out here to the west, the smaller town, there's a lot of service-based businesses out here, and so I think they're really going to benefit from the vehicle. They do a lot of their marketing through vehicle wraps and signages on their businesses, and so I think we're really going to be another option for them out here. There's some smaller options, but there's not any good size options to do that kind of thing. So they have to travel pretty far for that. And as we move closer to downtown, I think what you might call our competitors are not necessarily in the size niche that we are. There's smaller printers and that don't do as large scale stuff. And when you start talking about things like the zoo, they have giant banners that run up and down the entire street. We're right next to TCU University, which kind of has the same type of thing all throughout the cultural district and downtown. The corporate offices, I think they will. There's not a lot of other businesses that do that size of footprint, which I think we will do very well.
Yeah, I agree. And, that's just a reminder, everybody on the call, what we like for people to do before they open, is to do an outreach to the, commercial printers, small format printers, sign companies, offset printers, and just letting them know, hey, we can do your, large and wide format graphics. We have the capacity. We're just opening up, which definitely, starts to build up your customer base. And what I love about it is you don't have to have salespeople on staff, right? Those are your salespeople. If you could start getting, recurring revenue from, the wholesale business, and then that really opens up, the retail side. All right. I want to ask one more question. So what advice would you offer to someone considering a SpeedPro franchise or any franchise opportunity for that matter?
Well, I guess I've touched on some of it. I think, be sure it's something that you enjoy, I guess that's business advice in general. I think one of the things that was important to, and I don't know if this is advice, but it's just what was important to me was the way the other franchisees interact with each other. The owner network in SpeedPro is different than any other we explored, and I think that that kind of I feel like there were some other franchises that we explored where their different owners were in direct competition with each other and basically were not necessarily cooperative because they were trying to beat each other, right? And that's not the way it is with SpeedPro. So that was kind of important to me. But I guess in terms of advice, maybe it's just be prepared to do the work, because a franchise is way quicker to get up and going than starting with a blank piece of paper. But at the same time, they give you the framework and the branding and the training and all of the resources. But at the same time, it's up to you to run your business, and you have to have the initiative to go, find out the answers and go figure things out and do the work. So just be prepared. It's not no one's gonna spoon feed you. you still have to do the work, right? So
I agree. Yeah, it's a franchise model, right? Provides the blueprint, but you yourself still has to execute that blueprint.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, Chris and Sharisa, thank you very much. Is there? Let me ask real quick. Is there any questions that anybody has before we let Chris and Sharisa go? And by the way, this is recorded. We are going to send this back out to folks if maybe a spouse wasn't able to be on the call. But I see we've got people from all over the country, which is really exciting. But what I love about these, Chris and Sharisa, Chris, you probably watched a lot of these, and now you're on one. People are going to be watching, this interview, over the next few years. But again, just to kind of, summarize, we're going to do a 4-part series. I volunteered you guys on your behalf to do that. I'm really excited about, to hear your journey and, to see what you guys grow to. I'm really excited about both of you, and SpeedPro is very excited about both of you as well. So any last words of encouragement for people on the call?
I say just do it. I mean, we have been, ever since we signed, we have been excited, nothing but excited. We're anxious to get going. Like I said, real estate was a little bit of a challenge, but once everything happens for a reason. I think that led us to what I think is going to be an ideal location in the end. And so, like I said, we have been so happy that we made this choice. It's been, a phenomenal experience. So I would encourage, if this sounds good to you, I wouldn't have any reservations about doing it again. Okay.
And we did get a question about the electrical. So I'll answer it initially. So for the roll-to-roll printer that you start out with, you're going to need at least a 2-phase, which is going to have two 220 lines just for that HP latex printer. as you start to get into a big flatbed UV printer and a big flatbed cutter, that's when you start to get to that 3-phase hookup. And so maybe talk to us about your electrical. I know this isn't the most glitzy thing to a closing on all this, but talk to us about the electrical at your building.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the real estate journey. You know, we were finding things that were 1,000, 1,500 square feet or 14,000, and so you know it was tough to find that Goldilocks size, especially that had HVAC and all that in it. So so it was a challenge, but part of that journey was the electrical, and you know we took that into account. Even though we knew we wouldn't need 3-phase up front, we kind of really wanted that. Now we did go down the path of we found a place that might have worked for us but didn't have 3-phase, and there are converters out there that you can buy and things that might have worked, but you know we really looked for that 3-phase. And as far as our current space, it does have 3-phase in there, and we did have to, you know, as part of the build out, have a couple of 240 outlets put in for the printer. But you know that was a, you know, a small change there. It wasn't terribly difficult to get, you know, just some outlets put in. So
Got it. And so just to, I'm going to add to that. So part of the, you know, the real estate process is, you know, there's a series of requirements that we have, right? Size, ceiling size or height, the bay garage door, how tall that has to be, typically over 12 feet. You know, a fair amount on the lease. You know, and you know, hopefully you can negotiate if there's a tenant to the left or right of you, they have the first right of refusal. So you mentioned something, Chris, about, you know, real estate's been a challenge. Once you have real estate and you're ready to move in, typically you'll open up less than 90 days after that. And I think for you guys, yes, that'll stay true. It's just the biggest variable when people ask, why is it 4 to 8 months to open? It's finding that location. You found the right location. It's just you had to wait for a tenant to leave, and then there's a little bit of leasehold improvements.
right, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Kate will be in touch with you guys after this call. We'll send you guys a nice holiday gift. Again, appreciate it. And please tell your daughter happy holidays from us and SpeedPro. Thank you, everybody on this call. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. And happy holidays. Thank you, everybody, for the Hokes, for your participation, and everybody's participation and listening into the interview.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.